How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we've got another of our Understanding How to Build series, and this time starting off with the first in the ones for the Cunning leaders, and that is Boba Fett. So this is a series, if you haven't checked it out, where we go over each of the leaders from set 1, helping you understand how to build it. Not giving lists, because we don't want to give lists. We don't want people to just have a list, go out and try it and not really know what to do with it. So instead we're doing something better, which is helping you understand how to build, so you can kind of see what the benefits are of each different aspect combinations, helping to know like what kind of what ratios you want for each card to help you understand when it comes to your deck building to improve it for you, so that way you improve yourself and can build a deck to how it functions and how it benefits you during your playstyle and things like that. So we're on to the next one, being Boba Fett. So we're starting the first of the Cunning leaders, and then we're on like the last few now. So if you're interested in Boba Fett, feel free to stick around and I'll help you how to build it, because this is one of the most versatile leaders due to its effect, and we're going to check out how to understand how to build it. So before we get into the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It keeps you updated with my videos as and when they drop. And if you click the notification bell when you do that, you can then get alerts to when they do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time that suits you. So now we got all out of the way, let's go ahead and check out and understand how to build Boba Fett. So this is Boba Fett, this is the leader. So in this game you get leader, and he starts off in the leader area, and then once a game you can deploy it and let him join the battle in the ground arena. Well, depending, so currently they're all ground arena, but maybe in future we might get space leaders, which would be cool. But for now we got ground leaders, and he's one that deploys quite early, like not the earliest, but quite early, because he deploys at 5 resources. And for a 5 resource leader, he has some very good stats, like he does a good 4 damage, which is very nice, and also 7 help HP as well. So he's got quite a bit of like bulk to him as well. So he's one of the earliest leaders that has quite good stats. If you look at something else that deploys quite early, like Cunning, he only does 2 damage, but can increase to 3 with its effect, and has the same amount of health. So like Boba Fett has very good stats for its deployment requirement. Also, he has a very nice effect as well, which in the leader areas you can exhaust him as the cost. So not the cost, but the requirement is to, when an enemy unit leaves play, could be bounced back to hand, just as long as it's removed from play, so off the board, out of the way, either in being defeated, being bounced back to hand, or things like that. You can exhaust this leader, and if you do exhaust the leader, you get ready a resource, so like untap a resource, so that way you can play more things or do more things with your resources, so you get an extra resource compared to what you normally have. And usually that's like a really good effect, and we've seen with so far in the beginning of the game. It's a really good effect, because getting more resources to do more things is very beneficial, allows you to play more things, establish more things, and just do more. And he does the same kind of thing when he deploys. So when he does deploy, now he has to just actually attack. So it says when this unit completes the attack, meaning it has to attack and also has to survive that attack. If it doesn't survive, it won't get the effect. So it needs to attack and survive that attack. And if you do, if an enemy unit left play this phase, you ready at the 2 resources. So on the turn where you can deploy him, you can get back up to 3 resources, because you get 1 from the leader area, because when a leader deploys, he comes in active no matter if he's rested or not, or exhausted in the leader area. So you can get 3 extra resources on this deployment, and then while he's deployed, you can get an extra 2 every turn, and then while he's not deployed, you can get an extra 1 every turn, potentially, if you remove a unit for play. And with Cunning, it's very easy to do that, so he's got a lot of stuff in his actual own aspects to do that. So he's a very strong leader, very versatile, and probably the best leader in the game at the moment. So that is the leader. Also, he doesn't have the best traits, but didn't really care about that too much. Like, he does have Bounty Hunter, which could get most either way. These traits can get better things in the future. But for set 1, doesn't really have anything beneficial for the traits, because it's just Underworld Bounty Hunter. But like I said, in future we can get some more support for these ones, because it's just the first set, so it's not going to be too broad in just the first set. So that's the leader. Now we'll have a look at the different aspect ratios and go over. So with you can get access to 3 different aspects. So you get 2 from your leader, which one is always either heroic or heroism or villainy, so black or white. And then you got the other one, that's one of the color aspects. So for Boba Fett, he's a Cunning one, so he has the yellow one being Cunning. Now, if you combine that with your base, you get another aspect from your base. So you can either get the Cunning and Villainy along with Vigilance, Command, Aggression, or another Cunning aspect. So you can get an extra blue, green, red, or yellow for anybody that doesn't worry or doesn't know about the aspects, like names, or doesn't really care about them. So these are the 4 different color combinations, aspect combinations you get. and they will give some good benefits. And these ones actually give better benefits to Boba Fett than most leads. Like he can probably do better in all of them, but then he's one of the each aspect has one leader that can make pretty good use of the double aspect, and Boba Fett is one of those for Cunning. So we're going to have a look and see what each of these different aspect combinations give to benefit Boba Fett. But first, we're going to talk about ratios, because in this game you can play up to 3 copies of any given card. But then there are some benefits and some reasons why you might run around a full 3 playset copy of a card, only 2 copies of a card, or just 1 copy of a card. Now, when it comes to ratios, 3 copies of card are normally cards that you want to see as much as possible, and earlier you basically just want to see them, and you want to increase, make sure you've got the best chance of seeing them by maxing out the copies. So, with Boba Fett, one of the best legendaries in the game, the second most expensive card legendary in the game, I think. And this one is just a card you always want to see. It's a really strong card, very good for its stats to its cost, and you want to basically see it as soon as possible. And you want to see even though it's unique, you want to see as many as possible. So if one goat gets taken out or defeated, you can drop another one. So this is the kind of card you want, 3 cards that you want to see as much as possible, and as many as possible, and as quickly as possible. Then we have 2 copies of a card. Here we got When Those Goods Be Dead. So these are cards that are very good. Normally in this slot, we normally have a high costing card to explain it's high costing cards, normally cards that you don't want to see too early because they're dead in your hand, but you then don't want to have them clogged up at the beginning, but you do want to see them later. So you normally have lower amounts of them, so that way you don't get clogged up early, and then when you come to the later game, you can actually find them and see them and use them. But in this case, I've got Good to Be Dead here as a good example of a card that you can have 2 costs. You could have 3 copies of this card, but sometimes it depends on what you're going against and how you want to play the deck. Sometimes you don't play, because with this card, it allows you to exhaust the unit and then it get ready for this round. Meaning you can tap down something for 2 turns. But sometimes you might not have the initiative to be able to make full use of this card, so it might be a card that could be handy, but you don't really want to use too many of it. So normally 2 copies of card are cards you don't want to see too early, or not going to be as great all the time, but then you want to see them at certain points, but you don't want to see too many of them, so 2 copies is a good example of that. And you got copies of 1 copy of a card. So we got Change of Heart here is a good example, where it's a high costing card, a 6 cost, means you're not going to be playing it until turn 5 at the earliest. And it could be cards that aren't the best in every single situation, but they are either tech choices or cards that could be good in certain situations. So you want to see it, you want to potentially see it, but only in certain matchups. But then luckily, if you don't see it, you don't really care. But if you do see it, it's either then useful after that point, or it's a card you can straight up charge. So one of them normally tech choices are cards that you think could be good, but is very situational when they're good. So hopefully that helps explain the ratios when it comes to deck building, so you know what kind of cards you want to put 3 copies of in your deck, what cards you want to put 2 copies on your deck, and what cards you just want to have a single copy in your list. So that's with the ratios. Now we're going to get into the aspects and go over it and see what the benefits are. And like always, we're going to start off with the double cunning one, the double aspect one. So this one's cunning, and this is probably one of the better double aspect combinations, because all 3 of the double aspect cards are very good, even some are better than the others. But and Boba Fett is one of the best ways you can play it. A good way you can play it is double cunning. It actually gets good benefits, because with the double aspects, you do have a smaller card pool where you're losing access to a whole different aspect, but you do get access to some really good cards in these 3 double aspect ones, which are actually very good with Boba Fett. Now, with the aspects, you might be thinking, because I forgot to explain when we were going over the aspects, but what is the benefit? What is the benefit of the aspects? Well, with the aspects, for each aspect that doesn't match on what's on your leader and base, you have to pay an extra 2 resources to play that card. So on top of the cost, we got Bodhi Rook here. Now, if you're playing double cunning and you wanted to play him, it's fine. You basically got the two cunning aspects, so you can play him out for free. But if you weren't playing double aspects, wanted to play him, say you were playing a Vigilant space, so you'd have access to black, yellow, and blue. If you wanted to play him, you wouldn't have a second Cunning aspect, so you have to pay an extra 2 on top of his cost, but you'd be paying 5 for him instead of 3 if you were playing double aspects. That's the kind of thing. For every aspect that doesn't match on your leader and base, you have to pay an extra 2 to the cost of the card just to play the card out. So that means that the more aspects that don't match, the more extra cost is on it, in addition to its actual cost. Now with this, with the bases here, every aspect has 3 bases. It has 2 skillless vanilla bases that have no skill, just 30 HP. And you have one rare base in each aspect that has 25 health instead of 30, so it's got a little bit less health, but that sacrifice in health comes at the benefit of having an epic action. Now for Cunning, it doesn't have the best one in Jealousy because its effect is just give a non-leader unit -4 for that phase, which isn't the best, but it can be useful depending how you want to play it. Like, you make it so a non-leader unit has got less health, so you can take it out without taking too much damage back, or make it so if they're trying to like attack you and do a lot of damage to your base, you can neg its health, neg its attack, so it doesn't do as much as it could do. So there are benefits to it, just it's not the biggest benefits compared to the other rare bases and the other aspects, but it is an option. So you can either go for a skillless 30 health base or a 25 health with epic action. Now with the double aspect cards, as I said, you do lose access to the aspects, whereas if you play different aspects, so like 2 different aspects rather than double, you get access to Cunning cards, and say if you were playing Vigilance, you get access to Vigilance cards. But by going double aspect, you lose access to a whole different aspect just to have access to these free cards. Because currently in set 1, there's only 3 cards in each aspect to have double aspect cards, so you're sacrificing a whole different aspect for just 3 extra cards. But as we get into future sets, we'll have more cards in that aspect itself, like so Cunning, for example, and we'll potentially get more double aspect cards. But for now in set 1, we've only got you're sacrificing a whole other aspect for just 3 cards, but these are very good. Because if you look at Bodhi Brook, it's a free cost that has free power, free health, which is very good stats for its cost, and has a very nice one-played effect, allowing you to look at your opponent's hand to get that knowledge of what's in their hand and make it discard a non-unit card. So if your opponent was like, if you go to turn 2, when your opponent was waiting, and you've got the initiative, or your opponent's waiting to play like a resupply or ramp, you can play Bodhi Brook, get a look at the hand, grab that resupply and throw out the hand. Just make it, get rid of them, or get rid of some useful events, or even upgrades that they have in the hand that you don't want to give them. And you can also pair that with very nice with, because Boba's in Villainy, you can pair it really nice with going to turn 1 play Probe Droid, allowing you to look at your opponent's hand and see what they've got, so that way you know if Bodhi Brook's going to be a good choice to play, or even then just go Bodhi Brook still, even if they don't have something, because they can potentially draw into things. You also got Cantina Bouncer. This is a really nice one that goes really well with Boba's effect, because remember, with Boba, you need to remove one of your opponent's units off the board to be able to get the untap, like the basically untap a resource or 2 resources depending if it's played. And Cantina Bounce adds to that. It is not got the best stats for its cost, being a 5 cost with 3/5, but still it's not too bad. But it's got very nice when played, meaning allowing you to bounce any non-leader unit to its owner's hand. You can either bounce back your own units if you want to like reuse something that's been used or has it on play or has attacked and you want it or it's taken damage, or you can bounce one of your opponent's non-leader cards as well. So you can play out Cantina Bouncer, bouncing your opponent's units back to the hand before it's been able to attack, which is good. Then you can, if you haven't deployed it, you can always like tap Boba to then untap 1, or even then swing and untap 2. So you can basically, it's a very good card that allows you to get access to and help you like get the untap from Boba's effect. So meaning you're potentially technically playing free for this because you can get back 2 if it's deployed. And then you've got Cunning as well, be one of the better ones of the double aspect events, because it's like all double aspects, they've got one event that has a name whose name is the name of the aspect it's for, and has the option of giving you 2 of any 4 effects on it. And for this one, it's bounce a return a non-leader unit with 4 less power to its hand, so triggering Boba to get that untap, giving a unit +4 attack for this phase, so powering up something for attack, exhausting 2 units to kind of give a bit of control, or making your opponent discard around and card from the hand, so giving a bit of hand control. So you've got very good options with Cunning, all very good ones to like put together with them. And as you can see, 2 out of the 3 double aspect cards kind of facilitate Boba's effect to kind of get you back resources, meaning even though you're playing high costs at 5 and 4 for these, you're getting back at least like potentially 3 to 2 resources, depending on if you are deployed or not, or it's the turn you can deploy. So it's not as costly as it looks. So this is a good way to play, and I will have a list up on my channel. It might have already come out on the channel, or it might be coming out soon. I can't remember exactly when I put these out and which order, but if you want to check out a double Cunning Bubble list, check out my channel and check out the video for it. Then we go on to Vigilant. So this is one of the, is mainly like there's 2 kind of different aspect combinations between double aspect and command you really see in events now with Boba, but Boba is a leader that's very versatile and can make good use with each of the different aspects that isn't Cunning. And Vigilance might not be a popular one, but I feel it could be very nice because like there's a lot of good cards for the dark side in Vigilance, like very good, like some of the best best cards in Vigilance are in the dark side compared to the light side or just normally. and Boba gets access to them because he is part of the dark side as well, because he's technically a villain from when he is dropped, well, from this part when he's from his leader. And the bases you get access to is still 2 skillless base, but then you get access to Security Complex as a rare one, so 25 health. But the epic action is allows you to give a shield token to a non-leader unit, allowing you to get that protection, which is very, very handy. It can be very useful and just allows the unit to not take damage for basically once. And with that, you get some really good cards in Dark Side. You get Inferno 4 as a very good space unit, allows you to scry and look at the top cards of your deck, and then rearrange if you want to put them on top or the bottom, wherever you want to put them, to kind of like help when it comes to looking for things. And as early as turn 1, you can play it. Then you got some very good unique units for the ground arena, being like Dalmiko and Gideon Hask, being very nice. But like Dalmiko being a very good one that put like a bit of control, which goes very well with Cunning, because Cunning is a very control aspect. Because he gives you a little bit of heal and restore 1, has good stats just like Bodhi Brook we saw, free cost for a 3/3, and has the nice effect of making your opponent's events cost 1 or more, well, 1 more compared to what they normally cost, which is quite handy, so you can even stop your opponent from playing a resupply on turn 2 by having this out before they do it. Got Gideon Hask as well, which has good stats once again, that has the same like stats as its cost, but then has a nice effect when an enemy unit is defeated, you can give an experience token to a friendly unit, being any unit, being even your leader Boba as well. Then as you get higher, you get even Count Dooku, being a very costly card, but a very nice one, allow you to give some removal, and that also plays into Boba's effect, being able to pop, remove a unit to kind of get that untap. And since he costs 7, you get at least 2 of that back, which could make him a little bit cheaper. It comes in shield as well, which is quite handy. And then you got Power of the Dark Side, being another kind of event that can help trigger, like there's loads of things that can help trigger Boba to get that untap, so technically you can use this. Choose your opponent, defeat a unit. That unit's now defeated and gone. Boba's now able to untap some resources depending on if he's in the leader area or deployed. So some very nice cards there. And even on the non-dark side, you got some really good cards for it. Like you got Regional Governor being a nice control card to kind of prevent your opponent from playing certain cards by naming them when you play it, so they can't play it until Regional Governor's gone. You got Rugged Survivors, which if you can keep Boba out long enough, then every time this card attacks, it allows you to draw a card where your leader's deployed, and also has grit, so the more damage it takes, the stronger it gets, which could be quite a hassle if it stays on and gets enough damage. And you got nice upgrades as well, like Electro Staff, that allow you to put onto a unit, give it plus 2/2, so boost its stats by 2/2, 2 more damage, 2 more health, and make it so it takes less damage back by when it's attacked, it takes 1 less damage from being attacked, which is very handy. So it can make things survive a little bit better, because Vigilance is very good at making things survive a little bit longer, and putting that protection on as well. Then you have some very good removal events as well, which once again tie really well with Boba, because you need to get rid of a enemy unit to trigger that untap, and take down and vanquish are very good with it to allow you to remove your opponent's units, either take down hitting anything that's 5 or less, could even be a leader, whereas vanquish takes out anything that's not a leader unit. So while they're quite costly at 4 and 5, still, if you take something out, Boba can then swing and untap 2 resources, so you're paying 2 less for most of these things as well. So Vigilance is something you don't see too often, because people like the stronger versions of like Command or like the double aspect being a very good option for Boba. But Vigilance is a very good way to play it as well, with some very good cards to kind of help Boba have that untap by triggering that untap by getting rid of things. So it's a good option to try out if you want to give it. I'm definitely going to try it out and see how it goes. But then we go into the more popular aspect, being Command, the one that most people and like most Boba decks kind of go towards, because it's such a good aspect, especially in the dark side, and especially with its base as well. Because once again, you get 2 skills base, skills fit in the 30k base, but you also get Energy Conversion Lab, being one of the strongest and overused bases in the game currently. Because what it allows you to do for its epic action is play a unit that costs 6 or less and give it ambush. So you still got to pay the cost of the card you're playing out, but the benefit is you give it ambush. And ambush is like a fantastic skill, allowing the card to come in and attack another unit the same turn as it was played, where normally if you play a unit, it comes in rested and 7-wise stated. But with the Energy Conversion Lab, you give ambush, it can then straight up swing and attack another unit. It can't attack a base the same turn, but it can attack a unit to kind of help you control board and manage things in the arenas. And that's not the only thing, but like you get that access to that very strong base, but you also get some very good cards in the dark side. So remember, there are 3 ramp cards in the game currently, and they're all in Command. You got Resupply, which is an event. You got Super Laser Technician here, which is only accessible to the dark side unless you want to play that extra cost due to asset penalty. And Super Laser Technician also allows you to, when it's defeated, so it can put some damage in. It's very easy to just ram into anything that's got at least 1 power to take the take it out, do a bit of damage, and then get resourced. And it's the only one that comes in active, so you can actually use it straight away, whereas the other ones come in exhausted. And you also have command, but that's a double aspect. So at least with Boba, you get access to Super Laser Technician and Resupply to have 6 cards in your deck, so you can play maximum copies for each, to have a bit of ramp in your deck to get more resources quickly, so you can play bigger things quickly. And then the more resources you have, the more you can do from Boba, because you can untap them. So whatever resources you have, +2 when he's deployed, or +1 when he's not deployed, to can have access to. Then you have access to some very strong cards like the legendary Darth Vader, being one of the best and one of the strongest legendary units and most expensive in the game. That just comes down 7, helps you establish more things on board because it plays, and also ambush allows you to take things out before they even get going. He has very good space units that are dangerous as well, like Relentless, making it so the first event your opponent plays loses all abilities. So if they want to use any like super strong, high costing event, they have to make sure they play a smaller one first to kind of get through this, and then play the stronger one, which could be very costly for the turn. And Devastator, which is the most expensive unit in the game, 10 cost, but comes down with 10/10. Has Sentinels that protects you very well in the space arena. Overarm, so any excess damage you do to a unit goes to your opponent's base, and then when played, allows you to take out anything almost, because it can do damage equal to resources, which minimum 10 when you play it, so you can do 10 damage to one thing, which is amazing. And you have Overwhelming Barrage, one of the best events in the game, allowing you to boost any unit by 2/2, any of your friendly units, and then you're allowed to then do damage to your opponent's units, however you like, equal to the power of the card you chose. So if you boost the card. So if you chose Devastator, you give it extra 2/2, and you're allowed to put 12 damage anywhere you like, however you like, on your opponent's units, which is amazing. And then on the non-dark side of it, there's still good signs in the non-dark side of command. You have Steadfast Battalion being a very good card that combos with Energy Conversion Lamp, where if you can get your leader out, especially since you can get out the same turn, you can play this card. You can drop this, and when it attacks, while you control a leader, you can give it anything 2/2 for the phase. You can give it to itself, to Boba, to something else. Anything when it attacks, give it an extra 2/2. Making this a very good card, especially with Energy Conversion Lab, to make it so you can take out your opponent's leader before it even gets going and does anything, which is very scary and going to be hard to, unless you can predict it or expect it, it could just come down and just take out your leader before it even does anything, which is amazing. You got Reinforcement Walker being a very nice ground unit for the later game, giving you a little bit of healing or a bit of extra draw, which is very nice, and also has very solid stats. It's 6/8, 6/9. And while it is quite costly, you're in the ramp aspect, so you can always ramp to get out quite early. You got very good space units like Convertible Star Viper, which when you got the initiative, you get an extra bit of healing with it due to having Restore 2 if you got the initiative, and very good stats for its cost. And you get access to very good events and upgrades like Traitorous, allowing you to take one of your opponent's lower costing cards to basically just have as your own, and Resupply allowing you to also do some more ramp. So this is the more popular combination, aspect combination. You probably find loads of lists of this aspect combination online, and it's probably one of the stronger ways to play, but then there are not just this way to play, there's different ways. So if you like ramp and play out things quicker, like bigger things quicker, then ramp is the best way to go for it, if that suits you. Then we have Aggression. Now, Aggression is another one just like Vigilance, where you don't really see much of that with Boba, but it could be quite nice because it has some very good stuff in the dark side. Now, your bases, you do have the 2-skill vanilla, but you do have Tarkin as your rare one, and its epic action is allowing you to do 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. Now, you can't just outright do 3 damage, that would be a bit too busted, but if you fail to take something out, Tarkin is there to help you finish it off and take it out as long as it's 3 damage away, or at least minimum, from being taken out. Now, along with that, you also have access to some pretty good dark side units, like you got First Legion Snowtrooper, making it so if it attacks anything that's been damaged, it gains +2 to its power and overarm as well. So it hits for 4 for a 2 cost, which is pretty nice as long as the card's damaged, and any excess damage goes over onto your opponent's base. You got some good Force units in 5th Brother and 7th Sister, allowing you to have a lot of power into it. The more damage you take, and actually just spread out some damage as well. Imperial Interceptor being a very good space unit, allowing you to almost instantly take out most small units, because it does 3 damage when it's played. And then you got Force Choke being a nice little event that allows you to do 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit, but your opponent gets to draw a card. But still, 5 damage could be quite a bit to trying to take things out, or at least finish things off, especially when comboed with Tarkin. So that's the dark side version of it. And then with the non-dark side, you got some very good units like Jedi Agitator, allowing you to focus on your opponent's leader's base, especially with like Wolf and Jedi Agitator both having Saboteur, meaning it can ignore things like Sentinel, just go ham at your opponent's base, but also having some nice like on attack effects where like Jedi Data, if you got your leader out, you can do 2 damage to either a ground unit or to a base. You can be more aggressive. And the same with Wolf, you can prevent your opponent from healing, so you can keep pushing the damage on the base so they can't heal, and then you can win the game quicker. So you got Disabling Fangfire being a very good space unit, allowing you to take out upgrades. It could be like just upgraded cards you put your opponents put on their units. It could be shields, experience, any upgrade, just take it off, and you basically play out a nice little unit. And also you got some very like a nice upgrade in Infiltrator skill, allowing you to just basically give a unit extra 1/1, but also give it Saboteur, so you can ignore things like Sentinel and just focus on going and hammering your opponent's base if you want to be very aggressive. And you got Keep Fighting, allowing you to like restand things like a 3 less power, which are very quite a few units, especially if you use it to restand a unit attack and every unit take it out. You can then untap it with Boba when it's deployed. So not as great of like things to play from the other aspects, but it's still got some good options, and it's very good to try as well. It could be very aggressive, plus be on a bay, very aggressive, and drop out lots of damage quickly, and then untap resources to do more and play more things is very handy thanks to Boba. Now that's all the different aspects, but remember he is in the dark side, so he does access to cards that are just dark side, so you got access to some things, and then more Imperial things. So if you want to go for a more Imperial route, then the just dark side cards could be handy, like TIE Fighter could be a small cheap unit. Probe Droid goes very well with Bowie Brook, so you can turn 1, play this, look at your opponent's hands, you can see if they've got an event, any event or non-units in their hand, so you can play Bowie next turn and make them discard it, if they don't resource it anyway. You got Cell Block Guard being a very good Sentinel card with good stats to its cost, and then TIE Vance being a nice card to come in and just boost up an Imperial unit by giving it 2 experience tokens. Can't do it to itself, but can do others to make them a bit stronger. So you can even like power up that Cell Block Guard. And also you might be thinking, what cards does he have access to in his own aspect, like the dark side of Cunning and just Cunning in general? Well, I've got you covered on that, because you've got some very good cards, especially with Boba when it comes to dark side, Cunning, and then more, unlike most of the other ones where you got with the other aspects, some of the dark side ones are more like about the Empire, about like the Imperial units. The Cunning side is more about the underworld, like with the underworld and the dark side of the like dark side not connected to the Empire. So you got things like the legendary unit Boba Fett being a very good unit, one of the strongest units for its cost, being a great one that if your opponent has unit things on the board from the turn before, you can do a bit more damage to them when attacking, so you can kind of chip away at big things, and you can even keep it rested with loads of resting cards at Cunning. Bosk being a very nice ambush card that even has a nice little beneficial effect where if you play an event while he's on board, you get to do 2 damage to a unit, and that's great in Cunning because you've got like a lot of event cards in Cunning. You got very good space units like Cartel Spacer, allowing you to get control by like if you control every Cunning card, tap one of your opponent's 4 or less units, and even Fett's Fire Spray being a very unique unit that's very good with Boba Fett because he's got an effect when played. If you control Boba Fett or Jango Fett as a leader, even as a leader or a unit, you can ready yourself. So it doesn't come. It's like one of the few units that comes in and can just straight away attack a base or just comes inactive, like inactive. And he's got a very nice action effect as well, which if you pay 2, you can exhaust a non-unique lead unit, which doesn't come up as often. I don't see it used as often, but it can be used, could be handy, and it's an option on the card. It's very good stats for its cost as well, and can just help finish off the game just by coming in, just if you need to put that 5 damage, come in and then swing after on your next action. And you got No Good to Me Dead being a very good unit, because how the phases work in this game, you do your action phase, and at the end of the turn you do your like charging and resourcing phase, where you like you draw, resource, and untap. You do it at the end of the turn rather than the beginning of the turn like other games. So if you use this on a unit, not only do you exhaust it and keep it down, you then keep it down for your opponent's next turn as well, because the resupply phase is at the end of the same turn. So very good card. And then on the non-dark side of the Cunning stuff, you've got some very good units. Like you've got Greedo being a very cheap, strong unit, very fragile, but has a nice effect where if it's defeated, you can discard top card of your deck and do 2 damage to a ground unit, allows you to kind of finish off something that killed it, or even if you didn't manage to do that, kill it with your 3 damage back. And you've got a lot of events in Cunning, so if you have a lot of events in your deck, you potentially hit, well, as long as you've got a lot of non-units in your deck, like events and upgrades, then you potentially trigger this off. You've got some very nice cheap costing units as well, like Crafty Smuggler being a nice Decent costed unit. It comes in shielded as well for the ground, and you got outer rim headhunter, well, outer rim headhunter, which is a very nice space unit. And if you can keep Boba out on board deployed, you can make use of his on attack, where you can wrestlink as long as you control a non leader unit whenever it attacks. And it has a raid 1, so it's doing 2 damage when it swings, but only does 1 if it's attacked. And then, like I said, very good units in very good events, in Cunning. So you got like Surprise Strike being a very nice 2-cost event that allows you to attack with a unit and give it +3 for that attack, being able to do more damage. Great way to kind of finish off if you need to do a certain amount of damage to a base. And even Waylay being a very nice event that can trigger your leader's effects by bouncing back any non-leader unit to his own hands. It could be your own or your opponent's. If you choose to bounce back your opponents, you get to untap the resources and trigger Boba. So Boba's one of the most versatile leaders, and he works very well with all aspects. Probably better in some aspects than others. Like the ones you mainly see on online at events are like ones using command or using double cunning. But I still feel vigilance is a very good way to play, and I'm going to build and try that out. And also aggression could be very good as well. So that is it for the video. Hopefully that's helped you out understand how to build Boba and how the best way to build Boba is for you. If you do want to find lists, I will have a double cunning list up on my channel, either already out or soon. And you can always look online for like the command lists because they're all the same. And you can get a look at ones that I've actually done pretty well because this is one of the most popular and strongest leaders in the game. So if you're interested, go check that out. But that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and look out next time for when we go over Grand Admiral Thrawn. Bye for now.